Welcome to Two Giant Goofballs, a New York Giants podcast. Are you a goofball that loves Giants football? If so, sit back and relax as we talk about the team that both excites and frustrates us so much. And now, here are your goofball hosts, Drew and Rob.
Welcome, fellow goofballs, to Two Drew, joined as always by...
And me, Rob. Let's talk about some of them battles coming in this offseason.
Oh, yes, it's the battle time here. We've gone over now all the players.
Oh, let's get ready to rumble.
I
I don't want to buffer to get mad at me.
Mortal Kombat. No. That guy made so much money with those two words. But we're going to go over now that we've gone over all the players. We're going to go over all the biggest, battles coming up here because there's still a lot of positions, guys, that we don't know who's going to play, who's going to start. I mean, let's be honest here. We don't have the best roster. I think we got ranked, by PFF, like the 29th best roster out of 32 teams. Like,
you were not last place.
Yeah. So you're saying there's a chance. But you're looking at, with the fact that we're a very young team, we don't have a lot of high quality players, and I'm going to get lambasted potentially by somebody for saying that, but it's the truth. To be honest here, we got a couple of really good guys, but we don't have a ton of really high quality players in this team. That means there's going to be a lot of chances. There's a lot of opportunities, a lot of battles at that point there. So let's get into today. We're going to go over the offensive battles. Plus, we got a little bit of Giants news to give you guys. Plus, some NFL news as well. We're doing a little around the NFL here today. A couple of big things happened today. One's very good for someone, and one is kind of a shocker and kind of sad there. So, yeah. So we're going to go over everything with you guys. Let's start off with the camp battles here. So we have one camp battle we have to really go over here that I'm going to say it this way, guys. All due respect to the fans here. Obviously, Rob and I are fans ourselves, but this is a fan-made battle. Like, if you listen to anybody that involved with the Giants, there is no battle here. You listen to even one of the two players, there is no battle. Because
correct,
we're talking about quarterback here, and that's the supposed battle between Drew Lock and Daniel Jones. Again, if you listen to what they're saying, Drew Lock even says there's no battle. This is his job. But the fans keep doing it. You see fans, hate DJ basically just talking up Drew Lock as if he's like a future MVP. Guys, this is his third team now. He hasn't done a damn thing. Hasn't done a goddamn thing. I get it if you get some like rookie and you want to be really high in him. Like, this was a sleeper. This was a guy I thought was going to do very good. Like, New England's talking up Joe Milton right now that was with Tennessee. And I get that to a degree. It's still a little crazy to think that somebody who's never played an NFL game was a late round pick is going to do great. But, Drew Lock, we've seen him play. We've seen him play, guys. But what's really keeping this go is we've seen Daniel Jones play.
Well, and also, and you want to put your tinfoil hat on, you want to start talking about like different things that's happened around the NFL, because let's be honest, we've seen some quarterbacks in the league that should be a backup that started and had a career as a starter in the NFL. Yeah. Geno Smith, exactly where Drew Lock just came from. So you look at a guy that's.
I love that you brought that
up. That's where a lot of this has come from.
Here's why I'm saying we've talked about this before on the show. Russell Wilson excelled in Seattle. He went to Denver, poop. Geno Smith, poop everywhere he's been. Goes to Seattle, great. There is something about
let's not use the word great, but
he was great one year. He was okay last year. Yeah. Okay, I'll give you that. But still, what I'm saying is he's playing his best football ever.
Yeah.
So the fact that Drew Lock couldn't take a starting job away from Geno Smith means he's not better than Geno Smith. I'm sorry that I'm going to set the bar higher than Geno Smith.
And we got 10 years of the NFL of Eugene Smith there. So
I'm just saying like that. Is this how low we're setting the bar? Because we're this desperate to get rid of Daniel Jones? Like, guys, really, is that where I'm curious, because I get it. Jones is not the answer long term, guys, but he's the best answer we have right now. It's almost like when you're in like a press conference and somebody asks a question, like, I'll give you this, and then I'll have to get back to you with the rest from there. Like that's what Daniel Jones is the human equivalent of, basically. Like
He is
what we got now.
It's when you're at the bar singing with your guy friends, and it's about last call on Tuesday night. That's Daniel Jones.
What's wrong with that? There's a reason we don't shoot on Tuesdays, guys.
So that's your Saturday night lineup. I'm just saying.
Better night. The bartenders are a little more watchful on you to make sure your drink is full.
Yeah.
But like I said, I think that's where it's at. And like I said, to me, it's a completely fan-made thing. I don't think Daniel Jones has anything to worry about unless he looks like Daniel Jones last year. If he looks like Daniel Jones last year, Drew Lock might get a shot. But they're going to give him every single chance to fail at this.
100%. Because it'll justify getting rid of him next year and not extending that contract.
Yeah. And Deb says, I've read that one criticism of Lock is that he cannot absorb the playbook. That would be worrisome. Yes, that would be damn worrisome at that point, Deb.
Yeah.
That is absolutely crazy. I mean, that's like Kyler Murray level at that point. Like, what's next? Here's a clause. You stop playing Call of Duty and you walk.
Yeah, I was about to say, here's your Call of Duty account. It's suspended.
Yeah, like, seriously. And that's what people don't realize sometimes is that there's so much work that you have to put in to be a good starting quarterback in this league. And that's what gets me. I think it gets a lot of us. And it's like people look at like these are Jones sympathizers. And those of y'all have been watching and listening for, a couple of years now. So we've been on now for a year and a half now or so. Yeah. I've been more anti Daniel Jones than I think it's safe to say than me and Rob. I think I've been a little more critical.
Safe to say? Yeah.
Yeah, it's safe to say. I'm even saying the man puts the damn work in, guys. He puts the work in. And I get it. He doesn't read defenses well. I lambasted him that nonstop, guys. He puts in the work. He's a leader. He's the best.
Yes, no, and
he's the best we got.
Listen, he's already got a reputation with the guys that he's in the locker room with. They all respect him. You got a guy that's coming out of nowhere that can't read not that he can't read the playbook, he just can't keep it in, which is a big problem when you're trying to call audibles in the middle of play and try to tell players what to do. Like, and Daniel Jones, when he was good, he did that a lot the prior season. Like, there was a lot of non-conformed plays that he was able to control from the lack of pocket that he had.
But he didn't look great in Denver. That they traded away him to get Russell Wilson because of how bad he was looking. He lost the starting job even already at that point, He couldn't take the job away from Geno Smith. I'm sorry, guys. I get it. We're all desperate for an option that is not Daniel Jones. I get it. You all know how much I pounded like the table nonstop for Michael Penix Jr. Nonstop.
Yeah.
Deb will tell you, she was like, enough of that already. But it's like, you have to realize there's no hero coming, guys. There's no one coming out of cape here.
I need a hero.
Like, Rourke is not the answer. He'll probably be back in the CFL at some point. Tommy DeVito is not the answer, as much as the fun story we'd love for it to happen. Drew Lock is just not that good. So I'm not saying embrace Daniel Jones. I'm just saying accept it and hope for the best.
2 years ago, all over again.
Honestly, I think that's a safe bet to say he's got a better offensive line than he had last year. He's got a weapon like he's never had in Malik Neighbors. Granted, Malik Neighbors never has played an NFL snap. I don't want to get ahead of myself. But he's got the potential at least, to be the best wide receiver since OBJ. And I don't think that's crazy to say. I really don't.
No.
Honestly, it's not even saying that much. Our wide receivers.
I was about to say it's not saying much at all.
Darius Slayton and Wan'Dale Robinson are probably been the best too. We like both those players a lot, but neither one of them are a number one. They're not a Batman. They're Robins.
Yeah, I mean, Wan'Dale also. We'll get to him later as well, but I'll talk about him later.
Well, no, we're not talking about him later, so you're good.
I know. I'm just saying he's never got the opportunity. He comes in his rookie year, tears his ACL. Like, he started to come around. Like, I won't say he's. I have a higher ceiling for him than just a Robin. Maybe not a Batman, but he could be that Nightwing, like the guy. Like,
you just love bringing up Nightwing. You just always like.
I do. You got to go because you're like
maybe
the boy wonder.
Maybe he could be the Darkwing Duck.
Oh,
I got the Darkwing Duck shirt on. Dangerous. I am the terror that flaps in the night. It says, love that show. Let's get into our next battle here. And there are two battles we're going to talk about today, guys, that are really, really crowded with options. And this is one of those. Now, when you're crowded with options, it's not because you have amazing players at that position. It's because you don't. You don't typically have 3 or 4 amazing players at the same position. So when there's a lot of players you're lumping into one thing, that means, it's not the best group on your team there. And obviously, we lost Saquon Barkley this year, and it's the running back position. Devin Singletary is going to obviously be number 1. The question is, who is going to be number 2? And who's going to be that primary backup running back there? Because this is not going to be like it was the last couple of years, guys. The last couple of years, this was the Saquon show. Meaning, Saquon 100%. Was the starter. He was 90% of the snaps he was in. I can look up the exact numbers, but it just felt like he never went off the field, basically, except
when he was healthy.
As I said, except when he had an injury.
Yeah.
This is going to be a different team, and this is going to be much more of a running back by committee. But even a running back by committee, you don't have 6 guys getting snaps. You get 2 or 3. That's what you get. And besides Devin Singletary, there's not a single guy that's really, really established. This is legitimately could be the toughest battle to call in all the conversation we're to have on either offense or defense as far as the battles coming into the season here for positions. The group includes 2 rookies, a second-year player, and a third-year player. They all 4 of these guys total 18 career NFL carries. And there's just way, way, way too many unknowns right now to even call the battle. You got Tyrone Tracy Jr., who was a converted wide receiver. Only played at a running back there for the last 2 years. Only started 1 year at Purdue at the position. You got Eric Gray, who disappointed as a returner, but really never got a chance to show what he can do there during the season. Again, Saquon Barkley, I'm not blaming him when I say it, but he was a ball hog. He was a ball hog in the offense.
Rightfully so, though.
Well, I'm not. Honestly, I would disagree with the rightfully so to a certain degree. I like a change of pace. I think they use him too much. But what I'm saying is it's not his fault. I'm not trying to kick him on the way out. That was the offense. That was the coaching staff. That's what they wanted to do. Whether he asked for or not, in the end, it's their call. You got Dante Turbo Miller, who hasn't played much since 2021. Like literally total wild card. You have no clue what to expect of this kid whatsoever. Though again, we're hoping great things because we like his story. You got Jashaun Corbin in his 3rd year in the league now and hasn't got any playing time here or during his stint he had there briefly with the Carolina Panthers on their practice squad. That's not very promising, guys.
No.
But the great thing about the NFL is
any given Sunday.
It's not you're not wrong the any given Sunday, but it's not as much that what I was getting to is it doesn't always matter who your running back is as much as your running system as a whole. Is your offensive line opening holes? Is the running game working the proper way at that point? Meaning the schemes are set up right for both the personnel you have on the line and the receiver and the running back, but also set up based on how your offense is run as a whole, even through the passing game.
Yes, the way your quarterback plays goes a long way too. Because look at the styles.
It really hurt the Daniel Jones haters when they say that.
Well,
you're like, no, we suck.
Yeah, wrong, but but what I'm trying to get at is like, listen, like, look at the running game that they have in Baltimore compared to the running game they have in
the quarterback is the running game.
But I mean, am I wrong for saying something like that? Like you have a system, and a quarterback with, like a Lamar Jackson with Jalen Hurts, like more of a mobile quarterback you have, the more of a system you could put back there and be more efficient with compared to a non. Because what you're doing is you're keeping the back line fresh constantly and keeping the defense on their toes.
Yeah. But it's also funny you mentioned the quarterback thing, because I think that's something that we haven't talked about on this podcast, or I haven't really heard many content creators talk about in general. Daniel Jones is not going to run like crazy.
Not this year. No.
Not this year. He's coming off an ACL. He's got the injury guarantee. I don't think they're going to use him the same way. Like, he was our third down back though when he was on the field the last couple of years, guys. That's not going to happen. And that means these guys are going to have to step it up. They're going to have to. You look at Jashaun Corbin will probably not make the final roster. I just don't think he's that good. Let's be honest. It's his third year in the league.
Yeah.
He hasn't really gotten any playing time, which tells you that nobody thinks that highly of him. When you can't get playing time with the New York Giants and the Carolina Panthers, two of the worst rosters in the entire,
that says a lot.
Yeah. Like, what's next? The Bears didn't want you either? I mean, seriously, that's bad. That's bad. So you got to expect he's probably not going to make the final roster. You got Tyrone Tracy Jr. will definitely, in my eyes, make it, barring any kind of injury because of his draft status. You don't draft somebody in the fourth round just to cut him. That's kind of stupid.
Yeah.
So, to me, the big battle in this is going to be Eric Gray versus Dante Turbo Miller. So, Eric Gray, though, again, we drafted him last year. He's only had him for a year. We haven't even really given him a chance to see what we can do as a running back. Again, the fact that we didn't give him much of a chance tells me we don't think he has much of a chance. But you can make the argument he didn't get much of a chance necessarily as a running back because Saquon was a ball hog in the system. Again, not his fault, but he was. And he was third in the depth chart. You don't get a lot of running, plays at that point with the third running back on your depth chart when you have a guy that you're giving 90% of your snaps to.
I was going to say, especially when the second guy on your depth chart had 5% of the snaps.
It's ridiculous, dude. Ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. If anything, I think that should have told us that the Saquon was going bye-bye because they were abusing the hell out of his body. It was kind of like the last year of what was the name of the Cowboy guy who had left the league in rushes, and then went to the Eagles for 1 year, sucked, and then went to the Titans, had a good year again. The running back they had before Derrick Henry.
Oh,
someone in the comments section, feel free to let me know who.
Yeah, please, so
because it's gonna drive me nuts. DeMarco Murray.
Yes,
DeMarco Murray. Like the Cowboys did that to him. They beat him into the ground, saying we're not going to sign him next year. Who cares? The Giants basically did the same thing to Saquon. We probably should have seen the writing on the wall from that alone. But anyway, it's not a Saquon segment.
Yeah.
So it goes down to Eric Gray, goes down to him and Dante Turbo Miller. Now, Dante Turbo Miller hasn't played, again, 3 years, basically. So are we really trusting a guy who hasn't played in 3 years, even though he has all the physical tools in the world? We talked about it. The guy was in the combine this year. He would have been a freaking beast. It would have been top 3 in every single category, top overall in a lot of categories. So, look at our original when we signed Dante Miller there. We had a video on that there. They gave a lot of information on him. I tell you, it's an impressive story and impressive, results he had at South Carolina's pro day. But
yeah, I think we had a 17-minute video on this guy.
In the end, he's not going to score a touchdown because of his 40 time. He's not going to go ahead and break it for a 50-yard run because of his high jump. That's great and dandy. That's the underwear Olympics we're talking about there. It's the truth. My theory on when it comes to the combine and that kind of stuff. I don't like to use it as anything but a validation of my prior thoughts. That's what it should be. If you're making your predictions on a player specifically based on how they look in shorts and a shirt with nobody chasing them and no football in hand, you're making a mistake, point blank. So
The only time that you're not wrong, especially when it comes to the first round. But if you're looking at a guy based on his athleticism, and you want to see what he can do, that's when you get a little bit more of an advantage of seeing what he can do.
Yeah, if you're going to get a guy in the 6th round, you think you can fix him? Yeah, I get it.
Yeah,
I'll give you that.
You're right. You're right. When you're drafting a guy, when you're drafting a guy in the first round, you don't need to see what he looks like when he runs in his Under Armour shorts.
The problem we run into with Dante is he played at Columbia, Ivy League school. He was the best running back in the Ivy League there for a couple of years. Then he goes to South Carolina, but he has 6 carries. Like, they sit him so they can try to get that extra year of eligibility on him. But, I mean, we never really saw him.
Goofed.
We never saw him against high-end talent, except he had one huge, long run with South Carolina. I forget who it was against, but I saw the video. It's impressive. But it was one run. I'm not going to judge somebody on one run, Yeah,
every once in a while,
that's
terrible player has a good run.
If that's the case, Daniel Jones should be the running back when he was running around like a drunken gazelle, falling down on the ground on his own.
They just run 60 yards and fall right before the end zone. Done.
Sums up his career, unfortunately.
Yeah.
It's not wrong, I say it. So the question comes into be, basically, though. Like I said, do the Giants keep 4 running backs? Or is Turbo destined for the practice squad, or is Eric Gray destined to get cut or put in the practice squad? We're going to find out, guys. It's all going to depend on how they, do in the, in the off season here. How they do in the preseason, how they do in the camps. If I had to place my money on it, Tyrone Tracy Jr. will be running back number 2.
Probably.
Running back number 3 will be Eric Gray. And Turbo will sit on the practice squad. But I will say this. That's a mistake in my eyes based on what I have knowledge-wise now. I think it's going to happen because purely I think the current regime has a taste for trying to validate their draft picks.
I mean, you're not wrong for saying that.
And that's what Eric Gray is. He's one of their draft picks. Turbo, they decided as a rookie free agent. Again, long story. Go to the video for that. I'm not going to rehash the whole thing again. But I'm just saying, I think that matters that they drafted this guy. They want to make it look like they didn't make a mistake. But we all know they basically said in the press conference, they signed him.
Oh, we were talking about Shane. Pretty much admitted he was, made a mistake.
He signed to be a returner. He's like, oh, he lost all the returners. We just drafted one. Good job.
Yep, to do, Basil.
That's a Joe Judge kind of move. So, like I said, we'll see what happens there, but I think that's a fair guess of what I think will probably happen. The big question then will be, is does Turbo Miller actually make it through waivers, or does somebody pick him up? Because he's got his fans. He might get picked up. He's got his fans out there, and we have no clue what he can do. So, all righty. Let's get into the next one here, which is, this one's a good old-fashioned this player versus this player kind of situation. Not like 10 players like the last one, basically, it felt like. And that's the 3rd wide receiver, guys. And I'm calling it that, but in reality, it's the speed demon wide receiver, I'm going to call it there, because that's what they both play the same role, these two guys.
Correct.
And that's Darius Slayton and Jalen Hyatt. Darius Slayton has been a consistent force. Well, I shouldn't necessarily force, but a consistent presence for the New York Giants. Fair. 5 years in now, 4 of the 5 years, 700 yards, at least. If I remember correctly, it was like 725 to 780 was the range for those 5 years.
But I was going to say, that's about average. It's better.
Yeah. So he's averaging 670 yards for his career. That's you're a legit NFL receiver at that point, guys. That's a legit NFL receiver. Anytime you can consistently go over 500 yards in a season, you've made it.
Especially with the offenses that he's been in.
Exactly. Especially what he does. He's predicated on getting down the field. Good luck getting in the field when your quarterback can't stay on his feet and no one can block for him. That's a little different. Yeah. But yeah, we got 2 guys now, though, like I said, that do the same exact thing. So you got Darius Slayton, who, again, been a consistent 700-yard guy there. seem to have fixed his drop issues last year. That's a big one for me. That was like the
He
one
really did a
issue
good
I had
job.
with Darius Slayton. Like, he did not have the drops. And I don't think that's talked about enough. Like, we got to give the guy credit. We love to bash players when they make mistakes. And I get it. That's part of being a fan. We have every right to do it. I'm not knocking people for doing it. Have your opinion. Be a basher. Do what you want. But in the end, you got to give people props when they fix mistakes too. And this guy fixed what was an obvious, glaring, huge mistake there for him. Was dropping the ball when it hit him right in the numbers, touch his hands, fall to the ground. Happened quite often. Didn't happen last year. He's got the chemistry also with Daniel Jones. You know, all things to like here. Here's the problems you run into, though. He's in the last year of his contract, and we don't really know if he's in the long-term plans. To be honest, he wanted extra money this year. They gave him $500,000.
Yeah, I mean,
that's not a sign of confidence.
I mean, go back to the Shaq thing we were just talking about before. Look what they just did with him 2 years ago. You want more money? Here's a little bit, not really what you want, but
just a
little hush. Yeah, here's a little bit of a hush money for you. You take this here and
hush money. That's a different thing entirely. Hush, but there's like blackmail is going on now.
Yeah.
But I mean, yeah, you're not wrong there at all, though. I mean, you also got to wonder, you know, has he kind of peaked at this point in his career? Again, he's been around for a few years. We know he's never going to be an elite receiver, but he's going to be a good receiver. And there's, again, we've talked about on the show before where you can't have elite at every single position, every single level. You want to have at least good at every level if you can. And he's good. He's not great. He's good. You know, we talked about the show where if he gets 1 or 2 more years on there, the guy's going to be 2 years. I think was to get top 10 of the year.
Yeah, I think it's 2. I think it's 2 more years. He's top 10.
One more year was Ty Sterling Shepard, and 2 more years to get in the top 10. If I remember right, was that what we talked about last time? So I mean, like it or not, guys, he's one of the best wide receivers to ever put in the Giants uniform. Scary as it sounds.
Just got flew under the radar.
Doesn't say much for the Giants wide receivers. But it's also the difference in the modern game is part of it, though. You had the first 70 of the 100 years, people barely threw the ball, so you know that's part of it. But yeah, like I said, you got a guy who's in his last year of his contract. You already know his ceiling. Then you got Jalen Hyatt, who literally may be the fastest wide receiver in the whole damn NFL. That's not even a hyperbole. That's not a crazy statement. Like, he was clocked last year. I forget who did it, but one of the media members I know had a gun. Not a gun with bullets, but like a traffic gun.
Yeah.
That kind of thing to use to clock you when you're trying to give you a speeding ticket. And they clocked him at 24 miles an hour, I think it was, right?
Yeah, it was just above Waddle or
no, Hill, just above Hill. So yeah, that's pretty impressive there, guys. When you can say you're the best of anything in the NFL. And speed, you can't teach speed, guys.
Nope.
You got it or you don't. Trust me, I know. I'm the slowest MFer you ever see in your life. I start running. It's like Daniel Jones looks graceful. The Daniel Jones that's falling down before he hits the end zone. That's like what I strive to be. That's what I strive to be.
Yeah, it's
I'm like huffing and puffing after 5 hours. I mean, 5 hours, 5 yards.
5 steps.
Yeah, 5 steps. Yeah. Oh my God. I did a 2-step dance number one time. I didn't make it to the second one. But he's got a higher ceiling potential as well. I mean, the guy's a Fred Blindikoff award winner in college. He hasn't reached his peak in any way, shape, or form, guys. Any way, shape, or form. And this is a guy that, and maybe it's just the way I like to analyze players. I don't like to make crazy statements. I don't, because I feel like people do it all the time and they look stupid because you have no clue. I'd rather people tell me I have no clue. Jalen Hyatt's ceiling, I have no clue, guys. No clue. If I had to guess, his ceiling's anywhere from 6 to 900 to 1,000 kind of yard per season guy. I don't think he'll ever be a crazy Pro Bowl receiver, but I think he'll be a guy who'll average anywhere from, just under 1,000 down to like 600 yards around there. And that's a decent wide range, guys. In the NFL world, that's a pretty wide range. So I don't know which way he's going to be. But all I know is 1,000 is better than 700.
You're wrong.
Call me crazy. The math's not difficult. But
it's like you're almost like
he's got a higher potential ceiling. But he also, we knew this coming out of it, he was projected as a project because of the offense Tennessee ran when he was in college. That's not his fault. It's where he came from. I remember when you and I were talking about him coming out of college and we did our draft preview, we talked about him as a profile on him. We said specifically, if I remember correctly, and correct me if I'm wrong, Rob, we said he's a one-trick pony. It's a hell of a trick, but he's going to be a project.
I think that's verbatim.
And it's kind of scary if it is, but but that's what we said coming out. And listen, that's kind of what he was. He was a fast guy. He didn't do a lot of short routes, and he had Darius Slayton ahead of him. So he ended up with 300 and some odd yards and not a single touchdown. That's a disappointment. I'm sorry, it is. I know some people will sit there and tell you, oh, it's because Daniel Jones couldn't throw the ball far. No, because the offensive line couldn't block. Didn't stop Darius Slayton.
Yes. So, I mean, just to go back there and play devil's.
I'm saying it's there. They're on the same team. They have the same issues.
Just to play devil's advocate.
What are you going to do? Al Pacino again?
I'm going to go back to Al Pacino movies. I don't know why it didn't sound like Al Pacino at all. But
it's like Trump almost like.
Yeah. He was very good. But Slayton was better, but he was still pretty good. But if we're going to go back and we're going to be, I'm going to play devil's advocate, right? Who was the number one receiver last year? Slayton. Yeah, hands down. He's been
we had his hands up. That's why he caught the ball.
You're not wrong. Sometimes we're down, catch it in the numbers. But anyway.
Oh, I see what you did.
He was the clear number one. He had the relationship with Jones before.
Oh,
you had a rookie that did half those numbers, which rookies never do the same. Unless, knock on wood, hopefully Malik Neighbors blows out of the water.
Elite receivers exceed right off the bat usually.
Correct. So, you get a guy in the third round, and are you going to be mad that he went into a poor offense and, pretty much did what 370 we said 368 whatever it was compared to Slayton
number, but it's half what Slayton did. Not trying to mean about it, but it's the truth.
But in a complete offense that really that's like 10% of it. So 10% of the offense comes from Hyatt. Is it that bad of a year?
Here's the big issue is, to me, they drafted him point blank to replace Slayton. That's not to say they hate Slayton. Let's be honest, though. 2022, they did everything in their power not to play Slayton. Also,
now you look at the market for receivers, you're going to have to pay Slayton X amount, even though they didn't want to pay him as much.
He was on the free agency just last year, and nobody wanted him, it seemed. I don't understand that at all. I really don't, guys. I tell you, I think Slayton is one of the most underrated players in the NFL. I really do.
Probably. But, I mean, you go draft Hyatt where you're gonna pay him significantly less than Slayton.
But you also get half the production. And that's what, like I said, I'm not even blaming him on that. What I'm getting at, though, is if you're going to draft a guy to replace a guy, your hope is he's better than the guy he's replacing.
Usually, but I mean...
And it's not like Hyatt was an all-pro. This is not like Tyler Nubin and Xavier McKinney, where you can understand if Nubin doesn't come in and be just as good as McKinney. That's harder to replace.
McKinney.
So, I just look at the fact that he didn't pass Slayton last year. He didn't do nearly the production he did last year. And that tells me, at least last year, he wasn't as good as Slayton. So the question basically is he going to be better this year? And I think time will tell. I think they'll try to use Hyatt more and more. We talked about before that the offensive line should be better. Daniel Jones will hopefully play a whole lot better. And that's going to help Hyatt as part of that. I just think you can't ignore what kind of chemistry Slayton and Jones have. They do. They got a little bromance going on, guys.
They do. They go movie nights on Tuesdays.
Yeah.
It's beautiful.
Mostly the tearjerkers, a little chick flick action.
Yeah.
I
little sushi on Thursdays.
So I think you'll see some production increase from Hyatt, but I just don't see him overtaking Slayton. I think next year is the year he overtakes Slayton because I don't think Slayton will be here.
Yeah, it's kind of hard to fight for your job when you're not here.
Exactly. I beat him. He's not even here, but I beat him.
Yeah.
That's what it'll be like.
Look what I did.
All righty, guys. Let's get into what at the beginning of the offseason would have been like oh my God, this is an easy slam dunk here. We know who's going to start at tight end. Do we now, though?
Do we?
Of course we don't. We'll talk about Darren Waller in a little bit here. We've already talked about it. Rob and I we've already agreed pretty much that we think he's going to retire. There's more news than that. We'll give you that in a little bit here, guys, later on in the show. But the talk becomes now, who's going to start at tight end? Is it Daniel Bellinger, who's now going to his third year? Can't believe that already. Or
it's expressive.
Is it rookie Theo Johnson? And there's going to be a legit battle here, guys, for that number one spot. If Waller does happen to come back and we're wrong, then Waller will obviously be number one. These guys will still be fighting it out for number two. As we find out who does number two work for.
Dan, you beat me to it.
I knew you were doing it. I knew you were doing it. So you got Daniel Bellinger first. He had, I think I don't want to say amazing, but he had a better than expected rookie season. I think that's a fair statement to say. A better than expected rookie season. He's a hard worker. He's respected in the building. He's got blocking upside, that is just key when you've had issues with keeping the, quarterback on his feet. But he also had a down year last year. He's likely never going to be a great receiving threat. He may peak at average, but he's never going to be the next Travis Kelce, Mark Andrews.
No.
That's not going to even, George Kittle. I mean, hell, he's not going to be Darren Waller. Like, it's just not there, guys. I still think he could be a guy that gets 300-400 yards a season. I'm not saying he's a nothing and never get the ball. I'm not saying he's Howard Cross, who just is there for blocking as a third tackle, basically.
Pretty much.
But he's closer to Howard Cross than he is to Mark Bavaro. It looks like you want to disagree, but you're like,
It's hard to because he's the guy, like, when we drafted him, what did we say? He's a blocking tight end.
Yep.
He's not going to do much in the receiving game.
Yep.
He had a great receiving as a rookie tight end. Had a great receiving year for what was available to him.
Better than expected rookie year. Definitely giving.
And then once again, you said he went downhill, but then again, you also are competing against Waller. I think his ability to block will give him the ability to get yards in the receiver room. Just because he's not going to be the guy that you're going to be like, I'm going to light him up every single time, once every 3 downs, where he's going to go run downfield. That's not the guy he's going to be, but he's going to be the guy to turn around and get you 5 yards on the play because he's going to set up and block and, do a little slant or whatever.
What gets me on him is while the blocking is considered his best asset, okay? And maybe this is an unfair statement to make. Maybe I'm playing way out of left field here, guys. And if you think so, feel free to tell me that. But the blocking has been so bad the last couple of years. And he's been on the roster. He's been healthy for most of it. He had a little bit of time missed his rookie year because of that eye injury when he went a little Red Ryder BB gun and poked his eye out.
You shoot your eye out.
That's basically what happened. But, besides that little bit of time, he's been on the field. And look how bad the blocking has been on this team. can you really say he's made a huge impact there? And again, that's not me saying he's going to be so good to block that it doesn't matter how bad the guards are, how bad Evan Neal is. But I'm asking the question that we really can't answer, because the only way to do that is to go back in time, do a little share and turn back time, and go ahead and take him out of the game and see what happens. You can't do that, obviously. But I think it's safe to say that even if he had an impact on how well the passing protection was overall, I can't sit there and say it was a huge impact, because the blocking was shit.
Well, we could also look at 2 years to last year of how that offensive line looked. You pick up Waller, who is not a blocking tight end. You take Bellinger out of more snaps than he did the year prior, and did our offensive line look better or worse the year prior? And where we made all these
better, but wouldn't say it was much better.
No, I'm not saying that. I'm not saying that, but I'm saying like
diarrhea, solid poop versus diarrhea.
I'll take solid poop all day long.
Oh, I know that, but I'm just saying that's the difference we're talking here.
But
they both stink, and you don't want to see either one of them.
But I'm saying, like, that's a freshman guy coming up. It's nice that you compared Belly to I guess some turds.
Solid poop.
Yeah.
No, but I'm saying offensive line is what I was calling it, a solid poop and a diarrhea, not Bellinger. But I'm just saying our pass protection scheme as a whole, I should say, not even necessarily the line, but the line with the tight ends and the running back. I mean, let's be honest here. We haven't been able to protect the quarterback in years.
No.
So Bellinger got a lot of credit for being a good run blocker. And he's definitely helped, I think, Saquon open up some holes there, especially on the outside there. But I can't sit there and say that he's done a huge amount in the pass protection. I really can't. And again, he's played alongside crappy offensive line. I'm not sitting there and saying that. But it's like, I feel like, and maybe I'm out of left field again with this. I've said a lot today. I've been saying some crazy stuff today. I'm in that mood.
You're just loco.
Don't you know I'm loco? A little Cypress Hill. But I feel like he gets a pass amongst fans. Like, we knock every single player except for Andrew Thomas in the offensive line. And I get it. Andrew Thomas should not get blocked, should not get talked about in a negative light whatsoever. The guy's amazing what he does. But why does Bellinger get the pass? Like, am I crazy for thinking that?
Well, what do we get in fourth round?
Yeah, and I get that part of it. He's done well before he was drafted, but
especially his rookie year, like, he came out, we didn't expect anything. He looked better than what we projected. He caught the ball, so yeah, you get a little bit of a pass when you play above expectations. Now we're sitting there rebuttaling it because you take a top five. Now you get a top five, tight end in the receiving aspect, which is not, Bellinger's strong point, if you will. And that offensive line looks down when Bellinger didn't play as much. Like, I think saying out of left field, like, I hear what you're saying. I don't agree to the extent of what you're saying, but you're probably not fully wrong.
Like, way to walk the line there, right? Way to walk the line, Rob.
I'm walking the line right there.
Johnny Cash.
This year will show how good of a blocker he is. Like, you changed up the scheme. You picked up a lot of different moves. Got rid of Bobby Johnson on that line. Like, let's see what we can do. Like, if we can turn that offensive line from ranked 29th to just go up to 20, like, that's a huge jump.
Yeah.
Then you could be like, how good is Bellinger as a blocker?
We'll see. So you got Theo Johnson's the other option there, the rookie at a Penn State. Yeah, and he's got really high athletic traits. We talked about it when we're doing draft profiles on him. Like, if again, we all know my thoughts in the Underwear Olympics. I don't like the combine too much except to validate, like I said before, when we're talking about the running backs. But this is a guy that if you compare the athletic traits he has, that are almost identical to Jimmy Graham. If we were to draft the next Jimmy Graham, I think fans would be very excited.
100%.
Very excited. But let's be honest, guys, he's probably not going to be Jimmy Graham.
No.
That's a little crazy to think on something like that. But he's got athletic traits that Bellinger doesn't have. And we've talked about it before, the athletic traits. You can't teach them. You're fast or you're not. You jump high or you don't. Like, you can improve, yes, but you need that base. You get somebody unathletic like me and you give them all the best training in the world, I might be able to now, be 6'7" and finally be able to dunk a ball. But like, you still start at that base. And the baseline is much higher for Theo Johnson athleticism-wise than it is for Daniel Bellinger. That's just facts. Based on what I'm seeing, again, at OTAs, which we know is reporter-driven, we don't get much as far as that, so read what you want out of it to a certain degree. But he's already a better receiver, potentially, than Bellinger. And that should obviously improve as he gets more comfortable in the offense and more comfortable in the NFL in general. He isn't as good a blocker as Bellinger, but he isn't horrible, guys. He may have the athletic traits of Jimmy Graham, but he's a better blocker. He's not a guy you just throw out there who's a tall receiver. Like, he does have some blocking abilities.
Yeah.
He's also very raw, though. And he's got a learning curve because he's a rookie. So I think it's really safe to say what's going to happen here is these guys are going to split time, especially in the beginning of the season. And you'll probably even see the both of them on the field together. Theo Johnson, at least while he was at Penn State, and we'll see what the Giants do with him. But while he was at Penn State, he got lined as an H-back, slot receiver, even went at the outside as an outside receiver sometimes while at Penn State. And Bellinger is your old school inline tight end. He's not moving around. Maybe occasionally you move him out to the slot. But if you put Bellinger as an outside receiver, my God, you're just asking for trouble. You might as well make Wan'Dale Robinson the right tackle, which might improve the right tackle we have right now. I'm just saying.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's just not his space. It's not his forte. But I think as the season progresses, it's reasonable to assume that one of these guys is going to take the reins of the position. And it's also reasonable to think that potentially because of their difference in styles, who gets more playing time also may just end up depending on who the opponent is that week.
100%.
We're going to play Cleveland. Let's go ahead and put Daniel Bellinger on the side that Myles Garrett lines up.
Yeah. That's something I was going to say. I can see a lot of 22 setups. Yeah. 2 tight end, two running backs here. Or you take Theo, you put him in the backfield as a fullback with Singletary or something like that. And they're gonna get inventive of how they use these guys and how they pull in the reins.
I agree with you 100%.
So, and then like you said, 100% playing Myles Garrett. What do? You take the better blocker, obviously, and you put him against him to help try to stop. That force.
I mean, you got Andrew Thomas looking to stop him, but I mean, it's still even Andrew Thomas using help against Myles Garrett. that's a tough task. So you can use the case of Micah Parsons. There's plenty of good pass rushers we're going to play on a consistent basis here, guys. So let's get into another one here. This is probably the most confusing of all the position battles on this team, because we talked about the backup running back spot. There's 4 guys fighting for that thing here. You'll notice there's a lot of people in the picture here. There's 5 in the picture as we talk about the position battle for the left guard position. So you got Jermaine Illuminor, who right now is listed as the starter in practices at left guard. We think he should play right tackle, but they got him at left guard right now. Played well last year with a 68.7 PFF grade for the Raiders. Played with the offensive line coach, Carmen Brasillo, at stops in Las Vegas and New England, including last year with the Raiders. He's a true veteran. He's got 87 games overall, played 45 starts, and he is definitely an upgrade over anyone who played left guard last season. Sorry, Ben Bredesen. He's the only one I have respect for that we played there. I should say that. I respect other guys who play there, but I don't respect their game of where they're at currently. I guess that's a better way of wording it.
Yeah, it's a little more fair.
So the problems you run into with Jermaine Illuminor, he's already 29. He peaks at average to a little above average. Let's be honest. We talked about him all throughout this offseason because Rob and I, the day we signed Brasillo, were like, Jermaine Illuminor.
Yeah, 100%.
Like that night. Because he's a great, he reminds me of like that Nick Gates kind of guy, that lunch pail lineman to just tell me where you want me to play. And I'll play it well. We'll never play it amazing. We'll never go to a Pro Bowl.
Yeah.
You just tell him where you want him to play and he'll go there and he'll play it well.
He'll plug that hole for you. Hey.
Yeah. And he's also, but again, we talked about the fact he's played right tackle the last couple of years. He hasn't played guard since 21. So you're taking him out of position. That's not usually something you want to do on the offensive line, If I had to guess on who's number 2 right now in that position, because the Giants haven't released any kind of official depth chart or like that, Aaron Stinney, who was a veteran as well. He's got 31 games overall, 12 starts in his career, coming off a best season where he had 11 games started overall and a 56.6 PFF grade. Now, when I say 11 games started last year and 12 games overall, that does not include the Super Bowl run the Bucs went on when he started almost the entire postseason because of injuries to the team. He was a starting guard for the Super Bowl winning team at the Super Bowl. So he's got a little experience in that regard. And the run game last year improved once he got in the starting lineup. I can tell you again, somebody who lives in the Tampa Bay area, they didn't run the ball basically the first half of the year. The second half of the year when they started playing better is because they developed a running game. Aaron Stinney was the biggest change at the offensive line. It's not to say it all goes on him. It's a line, it's a group, it's a unit. But he deserves a decent amount of the credit because he was one of the changes. The problem you run into, though, same as Illuminor. He's 30 years old. He's not a young guy. He's not a guy you're developing. He's just there. He's already probably peaked as well. And the peak isn't that high. We're talking about 56.6 PFF grade, guys. Again, I know PFF's not everything, but it's a stat you can give easily on a lineman.
Correct.
So it's not like he's an amazing player. Other options, you got Josh Azudu, who they seem to really want to make a swing tackle. And potentially a replacement for Neal if he doesn't play very well, as we expect. You got Marcus McKeithen, who had a really, really low 45.4 PFF grade last season, 16 games, 5 starts. And he wasn't a high-level prospect to begin with, guys. Now, he was also coming off an ACL injury last year. He's also still very young, could improve. I'm not down on him to the point where I'm saying let's cut him and get rid of him. I'm not down on him like I am like Eric Gray, for example. But I'm just saying.
He's just gray and gray.
I just think that expecting huge, amount of, output out of a late round pick is just crazy. But that's not what they are. Late round picks, you hope they're going to be your bench guys for a while.
Pretty much.
It's great if they're the starter, but that's the expectation. you might as well just not have any late round picks because you'll be disappointed. The truth. You got Austin Schlottman, who is a veteran as well. 67 games under his belt, 14 starts, but plays best at center. He also had a 62.6 PFF grade last year. So you got a lot of options here. But again, it seems that the Giants are hell-bent on force-feeding their draft picks in, which would mean Illuminor wouldn't slide to right tackle necessarily. Maybe we'll talk about that in a minute, though. Spoiler. But if Illuminor ends up moving to right tackle, this is going to be a heated competition, guys, for that left guard spot. And honestly, maybe this is me just being down on Joe Shane's drafting because I've had some issues with it in the past. We've talked about that before. I'm not a huge fan of the way he drafts. Marcus McKeithen's not that good. Josh Azudu his horrible hand placement has not been very good either. And they seem to want to make him a tackle for some reason. That would basically mean you get Aaron Stinney and Austin Schlottman competing for left guard. I don't know who I think would win in that. You know,
I don't know.
We haven't seen Schlottman as a guard in a couple of years. You know, he's been a center last year, so you know we'd have to see. But like I said, it's one of those things that if Illuminor goes down or moves over a different position, it's going to be interesting. That'd be an interesting battle to keep an eye on there, guys. Let's get into the last offensive battle we got here. This is what we kind of alluded to just a minute ago there. We got to talk about probably the worst starter on the entire Giants roster. And that's Evan Neal, who once again seems to be slotted at the right tackle position, regardless of what he's done in the past. Whereas Jermaine Illuminor,
which is not much,
is gotten put into left guard. But he's just sitting there with years of experience at right tackle and plays so much better than Evan Neal. And like, no, you're going to be here. You go over there. Now, I will say this.
Play nice.
We talked about Daniel Jones versus Drew Lock earlier. And this is a similar kind of scenario. This is a fan battle, not a coaching battle. Let me be very clear on that. Fan battle, not a coaching battle.
100%.
But, yeah. You know, I'm trying to play a little devil's advocate there, as you like to do, Rob, as well. And I'm looking for reasons to be optimistic about Evan Neal. And it's not easy. Let me be very clear on that. That is not easy. I could sit there and say he's had some injuries. Maybe he can be fully healthy, and that's going to help. I could say the Giants signed John Runyon to put next to him. Perhaps better play to the side of him will help him more than we thought. You know, we all know Bobby Johnson did not succeed as the offensive line coach. Maybe Carmen Brasillo can fix him. He is very young. He was highly touted coming out of Alabama.
Freaking Bama.
Yeah, roll tide. It's pretty bad. It's pretty bad, though, that the most optimistic things I can say are hopes and dreams.
Maybe our coach could fix this junior. Yeah.
Like, that's where I'm at now. Like, the only optimistic things I'm saying is hopefully this, hopefully that. And by the way, he was a big prospect a couple years ago. That's not good.
I mean, the past 2 years, I mean, you didn't hear much this year, but I mean, he also lost the fan base when he said, you know, we're a bunch of burger flippers and all that. But
which, by the way, I had burgers last night. I was thinking about him because I was flipping the burger. I'm like, damn, he's right.
I do it so well.
God damn it.
But I mean, he's tried to put in the work in. He's tried to switch things up. Maybe it's a coaching. Like, he got a lot of high level, like, you know, former Giants. Kind of like he's got the talent. He just needs this, that, or that. And it just hasn't panned out. So, like, was it Bobby Johnson? So, like, we can sit there and say that?
I don't know. I really don't know.
Or maybe Evan Neal's like flip should be converted into the burger flip.
I think this is gonna be a big year for him. We're gonna find out what he really is after this year, for sure. Because third year, and one more year to go after that, and that's it. And then we're free of him if he continues the way he's going. We talked about Jermaine Illuminor. We went over the left tackle position a minute ago. There again, 68.7 PFF grade. Played with Carmen Brasillo in Vegas and New England. He's a veteran, but he's also, the biggest key is he is a massive upgrade over Evan Neal's performance last year. Massive upgrade.
Not saying much, but yes.
But again, he's never going to be a great player. He's an average to slightly above average player. He has already peaked. The other thing that you got to question on that is Jermaine Illuminor can play pretty much anywhere you want him to play except for center. Can I say the same about Evan Neal? Everybody talks about putting him over to guard. We haven't seen him play guard, since 3-4 years ago.
He hasn't figured out the footwork or where he's at, and you want to put him somewhere else.
And that's the problem we run into. I want to put him somewhere else, but it's McDonald's. Ba-da-ba-ba-ba.
Imagine you just go through the drive-thru and that's what you see. That's what I see.
Evan, is that you?
Yeah.
Would you like fries with that? Yes, I would, Evan.
Yeah. Would you like to supersize that?
Is your milkshake machine down again?
Yeah.
It's always down. But I mean, to me, this is what ticks me off, and I alluded to it before, but this is I've said it on the show before, especially with Evan Neal, is that this regime is trying to validate all their picks. Evan Neal has done nothing to deserve being handed a starting spot on this line. That's an issue. Stop giving him things like that, like he's some favorite child or something like that. That's what they're treating him like.
Yeah.
To me, this should be an open competition with both players having all the shot in the world of winning. And then who let the best man win.
100%.
And you could have done it in the OTAs at the beginning of minicamp. I'm not saying you keep it going the entire offseason, but you should take your time and see what they do.
Even if you have no intent of putting Luminor over there, you should have put him over there just to light a fire under Evan Neal's ass.
Oh, yeah.
You take a guy in OTAs, which is a friendly thing for the players, and you say, hey, so friendly. You're like, hey, Neal, why don't you go play guard right now? And hey, Luminor, why don't you come over to the right tackle and see what you can do? Yeah. And then all they have to do is sit in the press and be like, oh, Luminor, stopped this and did that. And they talk about him just a little bit of right tackle. Maybe Evan Neal finds a little bit more fire in his ass.
And that's why I'm saying that. I think that's the big thing for me. Don't get me wrong, guys. I would love Evan Neal to change, become a good player, and control that right tackle position. Let's go, okay, this was a good pick. I don't like the idea that we potentially wasted a top 7 pick.
No
one likes it. But I'm also a realist.
Yeah, but there's also, let's be realistic too, about different players and different coaching styles for each different player, because some players, they need to be pampered. Some players need to be baby to wine. Some players, you need to be like, yo, you're messing up, and I'm going to take your job away if you can't do this. And that lights a fire real fast, and you get the best performance out of the player. And it's not the, I guess, PC love, if you will, but some people need to hear something like that.
You're not wrong. I think Evan Neal is probably the type that you have to have little kids' gloves with. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but sometimes even with kids' gloves, you be like, hey, listen, we want you to do this, but if you can't do it, you don't have a job.
Yeah, but it's also, some people will shut down in that circumstance. And look what he did when the fans got on him. Oh, a bunch of burger flippers. He got really sensitive. He got butthurt pretty bad.
Well, he probably should have said it.
I'm just saying he got a little butthurt there. So, like I said, I just think that my biggest thing with him I'm curious on is how long is the leash going to be? At what point do we go, you know what, Evan, this ain't working out. It's not you, it's me.
Well, that's what I'm saying. You're talking about shortening the leash. You do it an OTA where it's a free open practice. It's not as big as a deal as in week 4, you're get off the field.
Yeah.
That's all I'm saying. You do that in the offseason.
Like I said, I'm with you. I just don't think I just think they seem hell bent on putting him at right tackle and proving their point that they made a good pick. And listen, guys, I'm not going to say that I didn't like him coming out of college. I liked him coming out of college. I think, Rob, you were in the same boat, I think, as well, right? I mean, he was considered the best tackle prospect in that draft. I don't know what happened, but all I know is it did happen. And you can either accept that, give him a shot to see what he can do, as far as how he can improve, or you can move on. But there's also a happy medium where you say, you know what, we're going to give you a chance to see what you can do.
Yeah.
Even if you can't keep your starting job, we'll let you sit on the bench a little, work with you on the side at that point. We'll give you extra hours. Yeah, that's where it's at. You can't hand this guy a starting job again. Like, this has the makings of Eric Flowers 2.0 all over it. Except Eric Flowers, who made the mistake of not trying him at guard. We should have. Let's not repeat the mistakes, guys. Let's not repeat the mistakes. All righty. Let's pay the bills real quick, and then we're gonna get into a little NFL and Giants news here. I think it's that time.
Enjoying the show? Looking for more goofball action? Consider a membership at buymeacoffee.com/2giantgoofballs. Memberships start at just $5 and give you additional goofball access. One-time support payments also available starting at just $3. buymeacoffee.com/2giantgoofballs.
All righty. Deb says, I was shocked when they picked up Locke instead of keeping Taylor. I was a little surprised by that myself, but there was a lot of talk that Taylor was done with the Giants as well. There's a lot of whispers with that. I don't think he wanted to be there anymore, to be honest. I think you only get your head beaten in by the opposing team so many times before you're like, this may not be the best situation for my career longevity-wise.
Yeah.
So
and it's expensive.
Yeah. But now he is one more bad hit from Aaron Rodgers being gone and him taking over New York. With a much better team. I hate to say about the Jets, but that's a stacked team minus the quarterback situation. So they got receivers, they got a running back, they got a good defense. Line suspect, you can say that.
I was about to say, you could definitely say that.
Yeah. But he's used to that.
Touche.
Womp. Paul says Giants all the way, baby.
Let's go.
I would love that. All the way to the Super Bowl. Let's go. Imagine if Daniel Jones won the Super Bowl. What would happen to the Daniel Jones haters? You get locked out. They'd find a way to take it away from him.
Yeah.
It's because Devin Singletary and Malik Neighbors. Don says Gray doesn't impress me. Not enough speed. Yeah, I'm not a fan of Gray at all. I'd be perfectly fine if we just move on from him and just call it a day. Deb says, not sure if you've seen it. I watched a neat video on YouTube of Tyler Nubin's draft day. Love this guy's spirit. I didn't see the video, but no, everything I've seen video-wise of him, like, this is going to be a guy that if his play matches his personality, he's going to be a guy that Giants fans are really going to appreciate having. I really think that. And especially, and again, I feel bad when I say, like, criticize a player that's no longer with us. Feels like I'm like kicking him on the way out. Seems I talked about Barkley before, called him a ball hog. Again, a ball hog that was the coach's problem, not his problem. But McKinney definitely was a guy who made some questionable moves, whether it's the ATV and the hand incident, whether it's, trash talking coaches on the way out. Like, he definitely was a guy that was in the news for things you don't want a player to be in the news for, especially a safety. Safety is not the franchise face there, like, I'm not going to say like
be in a safe space.
Yeah, like, I'm not going to say he needs to not have an opinion. Like, have an opinion by all means, but it's like, definitely some of the Wink stuff was him. Let's be very frank here. Some of the Wink drama was him. And again, he just made some bad decisions. Tyler Nubin doesn't strike me as that guy who's going to make bad decisions. He strikes me as a guy that's all about serious about taking it. He's glad for the opportunity, and he's going to go ahead and just put his nose at the grindstone and get going.
Let's hope you're right.
All right. Deedon says, Evan better do it. I don't see him doing it, though. Oh, yeah. I think we're all in agreement there. I think so. I think we're all in agreement. All right. Let's get into some Giants news.
It's time for the news.
All righty. First up is that's been going back and forth like crazy today here. And that's talking about a little Darren Waller time here. Darren Waller. Because guess what, guys? It's June. It's officially June. So we are officially post June 1st. So what that means is we have options. We have
so many options.
Yes. It's like somebody who went on Indeed and just pressed apply and everything they saw. So now that Darren Waller hasn't retired, hasn't been cut, and we're into June, That means if the Giants cut him or he retires, they will save $11.6 million in cap.
Million.
That'd be a $2.5 million cap hit for dead cap this season and 4.9 next year. Rumors are that he's delayed the announcement of retirement to allow the Giants to get this kind of cap flexibility. I want to reiterate that again. That's the rumor.
Rumor has it.
If it's true, he delayed the announcement of the retirement to allow the Giants to get cap flexibility. This is one of the things that when Tom Brady retired a couple years ago, not that Darren Waller's Tom Brady, obviously, but when he retired, it crushed the Tampa Bay's cap. And that was a big talking point here in Tampa, that he could have waited until after June 1st, split the cap hit, so they had a little more money to work with last season. He elected not to do that. His prerogative. That's the way the contracts are written. Darren Waller, if this is what is going on, purposely made sure to help give them a little flexibility. I want that to sink in a little bit, guys, though, because we've talked a lot of trash about Darren Waller, and mostly because of his horrible singing. Like horrible, horrible singing. Again, Darren Waller, please stop.
Yeah.
Please.
Well, I mean, is it really him singing? Because it's more of like an AI bot just trying to just autofill what he's
it's not even rapping. It's like talking. Like it's a spoken rap album. Like there's not a flow as much as him talking and then putting auto-tune like crazy behind it. And what's weird is the last video he did on Instagram, the one I sent you, he's sitting there on his outdoor chair or whatever, in a bathing suit or shorts, whatever they are, with the mic like you would have here, like I have, where it goes on the arm and everything like that, holding it while rapping into it. For those who don't know, equipment, an audio equipment, recording equipment, that's like a studio mic. That's like $600, like $500-$600 by the time you add in like an arm and stuff like that for it. And he's just holding it. It's meant to go on an arm. It's not meant to be held. That's not that kind of mic. There's a different mic for that. So it just shows me he doesn't know what he's doing. I'm waiting for some audio file to come on eventually. Like, you're wrong. You don't know microphones. It's a Shure microphone. I know it. It's like the most popular microphone used by podcasters and radio personalities here. There's two really popular ones, that the highest level that you can get, basically. And that's one of the two. So, yeah. That's not what you use that for.
That's
so
what
anyway, as we're keep on talking about that part of it there. So, prominent members, though, today of the media, like Adam Schefter, Jordan Raanan, are saying they fully expect him to make a decision before the start of minicamp next week. And it is anticipated he will retire. Rumors are also swirling that the announcement may even come quicker. So we're not going to speculate too much in that part of it right now, guys. We've already said we think he's going to retire. We've said that for a while now.
Yeah.
So as soon as he does retire, we will let you know, assuming that's what he does. I should say, as soon as he makes an announcement, not as soon as he retires. We're like so sure of ourselves. But yeah, we'll probably have an episode that day, even if it's not a day we typically record, guys. So might change up the schedule that week for that kind of thing. But like I said, keep an eye out. We'll post to you guys at that point when an announcement is made and what we're doing recording wise there. But like I said, that we'll probably do a whole thing on, because there's gonna be a whole conversation when that happens. Like, how do we spend that money now? All that kind of stuff. Please, Calais Campbell, come. Who said that?
Wait, what? Huh?
What? So, but I said we'll keep you guys posted on that one there. Next up, a little bit of PFF love coming the Giants' way here, as Kayvon Thibodeau and Brian Burns both named to PFF's top 32 edge rushers in the NFL. So keep in mind, there's 32 teams, guys. You should have one. We got 2. And they're not top 10 guys. I'm not saying anything crazy like that, but we still got 2. We still got 2 guys. That's nice. First up, number 21, we had Brian Burns. This is, quote, exactly what PFF has. We don't get in trouble for taking their stuff. This is their stuff, not mine. Burns has yet to take that true next step into a near elite category like his talents suggest he can. But 2023 marked the second best pass rush grade of his career, 75.2, and the highest run defense grade of his career, 62.7. Perhaps the key to unlocking his true talents was moving from Carolina to New York this offseason. So that'll be interesting.
Let's hope so.
Then at 29, Kayvon Thibodeau. They said Thibodeau's grades took a step back across the board from 22 to 23. See, not as pleasant as Brian Burns is right. Although he recorded 11.5 sacks, his pass rush win rate dropped from 9.5% in 22 to 6.4% in 2023. And he produced only 3 more pressures despite playing 111 more pass rush snaps. Thibodeau is a very talented player, but he needs a bounce back 2024 season. And this is a lot of what we talked about here on this show and a lot of shows across YouTube and podcast land there. His numbers were definitely a little inflated, Kayvon Thibodeau. Definitely were. But I think the big thing was he had nobody else with him. I really think this combo is going to work well having these 2 here. Yeah. This is not going to be like elite pass rushers. This is going to be 2 really good pass rushers put together, if that makes sense. Unfortunately, we're paying one that's elite.
It's like milk, chocolate, and peanut butter come together.
That does very well, actually. I use that in a smoothie sometimes. Put the Fairlife chocolate milk in. Put a little bit of Skippy natural in there. Put a little frozen berries in there and a banana and some cinnamon, some honey.
There we go. Now we're talking.
It's good. And you got to make it thick enough. The thing has trouble breaking it all up. I'm getting hungry now. I got more pad thai in the fridge. We'll have that after the show. Fancy. So anyway, PFF's top 5 they had for their top 32 edge rushers there. Myles Garrett, Micah Parsons, Nick Bosa, TJ Watt, and Max Crosby. To me, Nick Bosa is way too high and TJ Watt's way too low, but switch those 2, and I put Nick Bosa actually below Max Crosby. I like Max Crosby better. That's just me.
Max Crosby had a great year last year.
And again, no help.
Yeah.
He's doing it on his own. Nick Bosa is surrounded by talent everywhere. That's a stacked defense. So it's the one knock I would say. Nick Bosa down 5, TJ Watt number 3, and Max Crosby number 4.
I might argue putting Crosby, swapping Bosa and Crosby.
It's just me here, but I love the Raiders to get a guy named Stills and a guy named Nash and get a little Crosby, Stills, and Nash going on there in the Raiders. That's spectacular. I'm showing my age. Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
I am. But I like that you got that. They can even get a guy named Young and have a little Crosby, Stash, Niels, and Young.
Ooh.
Yeah.
You get a little saucy over here.
Oh, I am getting a little saucy. Sausalito. Let's get into the next topic here. So, PFF seems to be pretty high in a couple of the Giants here because Bobby Okereke has been named to PFF's top 10 linebackers as well. So, we're doing good here in PFF land here. We had Andrew Thomas on before on their list. We had a moment ago we talked about Kayvon Thibodeau and Brian Burns. Now we got Bobby Okereke. And I love it because while he was listed at number 10, let's be very frank on that. It wasn't like he was number 3 or 4. Like he barely made it, but he still made it. And it's nice to see him get a little recognition after not making it to the Pro Bowl last year. I think he's extremely underrated around the league. Obviously not by people in the New York City area or Indiana. Like guys that have live in the area.
I actually see them.
Yeah. But I'm hoping that this gets him more recognition out of the league. He deserves it. He really deserves it. I mean, the guy played every single snap for us last year. He played extremely well, caused no issues whatsoever media-wise, which is difficult in New York, guys. It's difficult in New York. Especially what was going on with Wink and McKinney and, Wink and Dable and all these things going on. And he just steady as a rock, and had his best career year he ever had. So, kudos to him on that one there. Their top 5, they had a linebackers, Fred Warner, Roquan Smith, Demario Davis, who's probably, I think, one of the most underrated players in the NFL, Matt Milano, not to be confused with the Cookie, and C.G. Mosley. I'll tell you, he knows Petrich Farm knows. All right, let's get into the NFL news here as we wrap this episode up here for you guys. Oh, yes. The explosion at the end really makes it. So, first off, we have the big news that broke earlier today, which was insane. Justin Jefferson and the Vikings agreed to a just historic, huge extension here. Justin Jefferson is officially the highest paid non-quarterback in the league. And I believe, though I didn't see it stated anywhere, I believe the highest paid non-quarterback in the history of the NFL, because that's a lot of money. That's a lot of money.
Yeah.
He got a 4-year, $140 million extension with $89 million guaranteed. That's a little crazy. That's $35 million a year, guys. $35 million per year.
Talk about
Think
it.
about it. He's getting handed
in the market.
Granted, there's taxes, there's agent fees. I'm not stupid on that stuff. I'm just using hyperbole of sorts. He's getting handed like basically $3 million a month. When I say 2 after taxes and all, $2 million. Oh, it's January, $2 million. Oh, it's February. Here's $2 million.
Must be nice.
That used to be what players made like 20 years ago for the whole season.
Imagine you showing up, you get paid weekly, and your paycheck is $500,000.
I'd be a very happy man.
Take home.
Be a very happy man. Seriously, that's insanity. Like, buy a car a week, whatever car you want.
Yeah.
Like, it's pretty crazy. It begs some questions here, because obviously we've seen a lot of $30 million kind of contracts lately. AJ Brown's got his. Obviously, Tyreek Hill had his at that point. Waddle just signed a big deal as well. Like, Amon-Ra St. Brown got one with the Lions. Like, this is the new number now. It's $30 million for these wide receivers. Now you got 35. So it's just a matter of what does this mean for the wide receiver market going forward? It's a position that you could say, like, we talked about obviously being a giant podcast. We talked about the fact that running back numbers have gone down and down and down and down and down and down.
Yeah.
But receiver numbers,
it just keeps
they're going up and up
and up and up and up.
Like, I remember when they got $20 million a year. I was like, oh, $20 million a year for receiver? You freaking kidding me? Now it's 35. 35. You're almost twice that now. That's
absolutely
insane.
absurd.
Absolutely insane. And it just makes you wonder, like, we got Malik Neighbors, obviously. I'm not trying to get way too far in advance here. We got him now 3 years before we can do any kind of extension on him because it's a rookie deal. We got him potentially for 5 years under team control if you want the 5th-year option. Imagine what he's going to get paid if he's as good as we think he's
$42 million.
More than that. 3 years ago, what do you think the highest wide receiver contract was?
3 years ago?
Yeah.
Per year? It was the low 20s. Maybe 24 million.
Let's see here. So 3 years ago, let's see, we got the 24 season, so we're talking 23, 22, 21. Is that what we're talking here? I'm trying to do the math here at that point. So, I'm going to name a very bad name here. You know, the top receiver was in the 21-12 season. Guess who?
Who is it?
Kenny Galladay. Kenny freaking Galladay. That was a really bad wide receiver year. But you're talking Kenny Galladay. His contract he had was, let me see the exact numbers here. 4 years, $72 million. So that's $18 million a year. That's literally half. Half! And granted, Kenny Galladay was never the player that Justin Jefferson was. I'm not insinuating that in any way, shape, or form. But because he was the big free agent that was available, usually the big free agent that's available gets the biggest deal. That's just life in the NFL. It's not who you are, how you play. It's when you're free and how many people want you. So,
find demands.
It makes you just wonder, though, like, in 3 years, is it going to be $60 million to sign a star wide receiver? Like,
I mean, it also depends on the cap, too. The cap numbers gone up significantly the past few years.
It has, so. All right, let's get into the last bit of news we have here today. And this one's a sad one, guys. Larry Allen has passed away at 52 years old. Now, obviously, we are a Giants podcast. The Giants and Giants fans hate the Cowboys with a passion. You can hate the team and still respect the player, especially once they retire. You have to face them twice a year.
Pretty much, yeah.
That's basically what it boils down to. Larry Allen, for those who maybe aren't old enough to have watched him in his prime, because his prime was a while ago, guys. He's in his 50s. That means his prime was 25 years ago. So if you're under the age of 30, 35, you probably don't remember really how good he was. He was a second-round pick of the Cowboys back in 1994 out of Sonoma State. Also played at Boot College as well. Had a little academic issues getting in Division I. Played with the Cowboys up until 2005 and ended his career with 2 additional seasons over there in San Francisco with the Niners. PFWA All-Rookie Team in 1994. 11-time Pro Bowler. Think about that. The average lifespan of an NFL player is about 3 years. 11. That's insanity. Again, I hate the Cowboys, man, but I grew up watching this guy play, and as much as I disliked the Cowboys, I respected the way Larry Allen played the game. He was a damn good player. So he literally had 11 of those 11 Pro Bowls was in the span of 12 years, guys. That's insane. He was a 6-time first-team All-Pro. That was 96 through 2001. So a 6-year stretch. He made it every year. And the year before that, 95, he was second-team All-Pro. He's only the third person in NFL history to get named to the Pro Bowl at 2 different positions on the offensive line. He ended up making it a 3. Right guard, left tackle, and left guard. He also started at right tackle his first season. Didn't get the Pro Bowl that year, but still, it means he played everywhere and played very well because, again, he was on the all-rookie team in 94. He played everywhere very well. Only spot he didn't play was center. Even 1 year, like I said, he was a left tackle, and he was a Pro Bowler then.
Like, crazy.
Just very good. All-decade team for the NFL in both the 90s and the 2000s. 203 games played overall in his career. In that time frame, just 13 holding calls and 25 false starts.
It's pretty impressive.
Yeah. That's like, we could do the math real quick. We know I love doing the math.
Yeah. He averaged a holding call a year.
Yeah, that's what we're talking about here. I think about how many times you see guys with multiple holding calls in one game. That's
average one a quarter.
Yeah, like he had 13. That means he averaged, one every 15 and a half games. That's one a season. That's insane. That's how good he was. He's also was called the strongest man to ever play football. The man literally benched 700 pounds and squat lifted 900 pounds. Now, Rob, you know a whole lot more lifting than I do. I can lift anything 20 ounces or higher. I've been known to lift 40 ounces at a time.
As long as it's got a handle.
Yeah, but goddamn, I can't even imagine what it feels like to lift 900 pounds off the ground.
No, you're talking to like powerlifting stats, right?
That's what I'm saying. Squat is a totally different thing. I'm saying I can't imagine having the power to just to lift it off the ground like this much off the ground.
Well, I'm saying if you're looking at a squat like that, dude's like deadlifting like 1,100 pounds probably.
Yeah,
like his powerlifting numbers is like a Buick.
Absolutely insane. Absolutely insane. Inducted into the Dallas Cowboy Ring of Honor in 2011. Inducted into the Pro Football Hall of Fame in 2013. And was a one-time Super Bowl champ with the Dallas Cowboys as well. So, again, we can hate the team. We can respect the player. The man leaves behind a family. He was vacationing, my understanding, with his family in Mexico when this happened. We haven't even heard details yet on why he died or what happened. So I won't even speculate there because there's too many options of what could it be. But, yeah, I mean, that's a guy, like I said, our generation, we grew up watching him. And looking at him as one of the best offensive linemen in the entire game of football. So, appreciate the memories we got there of watching him play. Condolences, obviously, to family, friends, and anyone who knew him personally. Like I said, that's that. I was definitely not expecting that news today. 52 years old, guys. There's going to be somebody probably listening that's like 21 going, oh, that's not too young. To a 42-year-old like me, it is, goddamn.
10 years is right around the corner.
That's what I'm saying. And trust me, the older you get, the more it just goes by at that point, quicker and quicker and quicker each year. So, yeah. So, again, condolences to everybody that did know him at that point there. And we'll let you guys know when we do hear what the news was as far as why he passed. Obviously, they don't typically release that to the public unless the family wants it to be released. But, yeah, a little crazy there. All right, guys. We're going to wrap it up on that note there. We will see you guys again, of course, tomorrow night. Now, again, keep an eye on the news. If anything happens with Darren Waller, we'll probably come on before that. If anything happens tomorrow, because that's one of the rumors. Supposedly he's going to do something tomorrow, but I haven't heard that by one of the main sources, so I'm not going to believe that until I see it.
Just watch that for his Instagram when he puts out the rap video.
Oh my god, he will probably retire to a rap song. He probably will. Like, oh my gosh, it'd be horrible. It's going to have something involving the words determination and termination. And he'll probably think that's witty. I guarantee you that. And I'm going to laugh my ass off. I'm right. I'm serious. I'm going to. Yeah. But yeah, it's going to be really badly auto-tuned.
Yeah.
Domo arigato. It's going to start with.
All the years of determination. No, it's not for termination.
It's gonna happen, you know it. All right, guys, we'll see you guys again next episode. Like I said, otherwise, no news. We'll be there again, normal time, Wednesday, 9 p.m. Eastern time, talking about the battles on the defense there to keep an eye out. There's definitely a good one, a few of those in there as well. So appreciate you guys listening. As always, we are live on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter/X, Twitch, and of course, Rob's favorite,
Choose like the page.
Profile. Oh, yes. Amazing profile. And of course, as always, we are available the next day on all the audio podcast platforms as well. So, Spotify, Apple, iHeartRadio, Amazon, all those there. So if you can do us a favor, give me a little like, give a little subscribe, give a little share. Helps us out big time there, guys. And we appreciate you guys ahead of time for doing so there. As always, Giant fans,
Go G-Man!
Thanks for listening to Two Giant Goofballs, a New York Giants podcast. We appreciate your support.
Thanks so much.